Hi, this is Ina, in with you in the Fight Back. And today I want to talk about George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia, which is a personal account of Orwell's time in Spain during the Spanish Civil War. We all know who George Orwell is, the famous essayist and novelist, author of such works as Animal Farm and 1984. Before I get to Homage to Catalonia, I'd like to give a little background on the Spanish Civil War. The Civil War came as a result of the unsettled problems following the formation of the Second Republic in Spain, established in 1931. The country was beset with agrarian problems and labor disputes that had been ignored and brewing for generations. A mildly reforming left liberal government faced opposition from an entrenched right wing in tackling land reform and curbing the power of the Catholic Church. As reforms became bogged down, the right gained power in 1933, promising to turn back the clock. The right that gained power in 1933 was being increasingly influenced by fascist theories from abroad. Remember, Hitler had just come to power. This produced a major backlash from the left among both reformers and revolutionaries that led to an abortive revolution in 1934, centered in northern Spain. The revolution was put down quite bloodily by Francisco Franco. But the left, which had been divided since the foundation of the Republic, was searching for unity and becoming increasingly radicalized. In this atmosphere, the Spanish Communist Party, which had previously been minuscule and rather isolated, was gaining support for its own push for unity, which was also coalescing with that of the greater left push for unity. This policy would become enshrined in the establishment of the Popular Front between the Spanish Communist Party, the Spanish Socialist Party, the Spanish Republicans, and others on the left. Despite to the contrary, the Popular Front was not a revolutionary pact, nor was it an attempt to institute socialism in Spain. It was a mildly reforming program that could be in many ways be compared to the New Deal in the United States, and was also a cross-class alliance. Following the elections in February of 1936, the Popular Front gained power, and Spain rapidly moved toward a pre-revolutionary situation. Mass strikes and land seizures were common across the country. Left and right were fighting in most of Spain's major cities. Spanish capitalists and landlords saw the country descending into chaos. And in July, a military coup, eventually centered on General Francisco Franco, erupted in Morocco and spread across the peninsula. Franco and his rebels received money and military aid from Germany and Italy, while the Western democracies claimed non-intervention and did not supply arms to the legally constituted Republican government. Only the Soviet Union and Mexico provided limited amounts of arms to the Republic. Workers and peasants in many places took up arms and formed revolutionary organs of power to fight the rebels. Factories were seized, land was seized, and a whole new society was coming into being. Along with this, volunteers from at least 50 countries, many of them communist, many not, decided it was worth braving all the trials and going to Spain to fight. 3,000 of them came from the United States. 900 of them, at least, did not return. One of the groups on the revolutionary left that George Orwell served with was called the Workers' Party of Marxist Unity, better known by its Spanish initials as the PUM, which was a semi-Trotskyist party formed in 1935 and centered in the Catalonia region. The PUM was pushing for workers' control, land seizures, and was a fierce advocate of the revolutionary militias, along with the anarchists, of course. The PUM was interested in a genuine revolutionary regime from below that did not involve bureaucratic maneuvering or unnecessary compromises with the bourgeois. The PUM wanted to push the revolution all the way to socialism, and the PUM operated relatively independent of the Communist Party and the Republican government. Too often, George Orwell's book, The Homage to Catalonia, is painted as rather anti-communist. There's a simple reason for this, and that is his hostility to the Communist Party of Spain. When the war began in Spain, the Communist Party sought to recreate a traditional army to protect landlords and capitalists from expropriation by revolutionary workers and peasants, and to crush their revolutionary opposition, centered partly on the POUM, but more largely on the anarchist movement. When Orwell came to Spain, he went to the city of Barcelona in 1936, which was controlled by the POUM, but more importantly, the anarchists. Barcelona in late 36 was a town where the working class was in power. This was the center of revolutionary Spain. Orwell enlisted in a POUM militia. The militia was where officers were elected, and the army was relatively decentralized, and the soldiers themselves were making decisions and deciding on practical policy. On the contrary, the communists favored a traditional army, which also had just rebelled against the Spanish government. Orwell explains that the communists had hoped to gain the support of Britain and France, who were preventing arms from reaching Spain. The communists believed that Britain and France would never support a revolution in Spain. Well, yeah. Thus, the communists wanted to gain British support by opposing the revolution. And they believed that anyone who tried to turn the Civil War into a social revolution was playing into the hands of the fascists and was a traitor. Yet the POUM, and Orwell lays out these arguments throughout the book, believe that the war and the revolution are inseparable, that it was necessary not just to fight fascism, but the capitalist society that spawned it, and that the workers must cling to every scrap of what they've won: the factories, the land, and the militias. However, the communists made it in hoping to keep the revolution from spreading and to hold it back, and believing it was more important to win the war as opposed to the revolution, didn't really appeal to large-scale working-class aid from abroad. And the communists did not support independence for colonial Morocco, which was in Franco's rear. They wanted to placate the capitalists of the West. And they also wanted to put an end to their rivals in the POUM and the anarchist movement. So, in 1937, a provocation in Barcelona led to a communist purge of the anarchists and the POUM. Orwell was in the middle of it, and he watched as the communist-controlled secret police acted like all were guilty and arrested anyone in connection with the POUM. They justified their actions by censoring newspapers, lying, and the constant presence of armed men, and secret executions. Barcelona, instead of being a city of liberated workers, was turned into a mirror image of Stalinist Russia. And Orwell describes in detail his time serving at the front, his time fighting for a new society. He describes the lies that the Communist Party told to justify their counter-revolution in Spain. At the same time, Orwell is chastising the communists. He's not chastising socialism or communism in a sense. He's chastising its betrayal by the supposed vanguard party of the working class that was more interested in placating imperialism, in making sure that a disciplined machine that has taken over, and painting up a repressive capitalist society, rather than striving for something new, something better, that would not only have transformed Spain, but the rest of the world. George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia is, in a sense, a war novel, a memoir, a travel guide, and an indictment of those who believe in illusions, those who accept facts without support, and those who, in the belief that their own side is so right, willing to ignore anything to the contrary. George Orwell, through this work, proves not only his literary brilliance, but also, at least at this time, his loyalty to the revolutionary cause. This is Enoch. Until next time.